Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and there's a lot of buzz going on in the popper community, and not just from Tolarian for once. All of you professional jalapeno poppers out there already know this list by heart, but I figured for the more casual people or somebody thinking about getting into popper, or just somebody who wants to grab 4 of these cards, should they become available in somebody's UMA bulk or, trade binders, whatever, just in case a popper player or you yourself want to play. So you might be asking yourself, well, how the heck are there new cards for popper in a 100% reprint set? Well, it's simple. They downshifted the rarity, and in every case, it was from uncommon to common. Now, historically, this isn't without precedent, but it's also a problem quite often. Well, I should say sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Oh, for those of you who don't know what the hell popper is, you play with only commons, and it's more of an archetype than an actual play format. I mean, you could do Pauper Commander, you could do Pauper Standard, you could do Pauper Modern, you could do just Pauper whatever the hell you want. It's kind of like Plane Chase, where you either throw in the Plane Chase cards or you don't, and then the rest of it is just, oh, what format do you want to run on top of it? So I don't consider Pauper to be a true format, but I mean, here's a fun fact. Technically, it's not a sanctioned format for paper. That's right, no paper Pauper. I'll just wrap the whole thing up with what I always say. It's a casual format. You make the rules, do whatever you want. In fact, it's Magic the Gathering and it's your group of friends. Do whatever you want. So anyway, that's Pauper. So whenever a new card gets put into Pauper, people get all excited. Usually it's from Standard, but occasionally it's from downshifting. So the issues typically arise when a card has been printed 5, 6, 7, 8 times as uncommon. It is clearly an uncommon card, always has been. Then they print it one time as a common, and almost every damn time it's in a pre-made deck, like a dual deck or a commander deck, where the rarity means literally nothing. Is it an accident? Is it specifically to try to sell the card or the product to popper players? Or is it to fill a quota of number of every rarity? I mean, nobody really knows. But this time around with Ultimate Masters, they're making a big deal about it. So I'm kind of framing this like it has a downside, and that's because it does. A lot of the cards on the ban list are exactly what I just said. Let's go with Peregrine Drake. I think that was the most recently added to the list, actually. I might be wrong. But it's overpowered as hell, basically broken. And it was printed as an uncommon in Urza Saga, uncommon in Plane Chase 2012, and uncommon in Plane Chase Anthology, of course, obviously, and an uncommon in Battle Bond. But it was printed as a common in Eternal Masters. And then they had to ban it because it is just too damn powerful for popper, just plain and simple. Well, I should say, there's nothing wrong with the card. It's more of a combo, like a situational thing that's broken. So this downshift can cause issues, which is why I kind of feel like they shouldn't do it. But that said, I'm just establishing why this could be disastrous. I'm not saying it is. So I suggest just knowing that it can be a problem, historically it has been, to downshift something for popper, basically. Now let's look at each individual card and make a determination based on that. And by let's do that, I mean I'm not going to do that. You know why? Because I basically never play actual eternal popper or modern popper or any of that. I pretty much lately don't even play popper at all. If I do, it's for a special event on Arena, and that's just standard popper. So I can't just look at the first card and be like, oh yeah, that'll be broken in that popular popper deck. I don't know any of the popular popper decks at all. If I were to play it, I'd build my own damn deck. I'm not going to copy some tier 1 meta bullshit, aka net decking. No thanks. Not really my thing, in case you are somehow new here. So anyway, what are the cards? Well, there's 5 of them. Tethmos High Priest is one. So it's a 2/3 for 3. Heroic, whenever you cast a spell that targets Tethmos High Priest, at least him and maybe other ones, I should say, is the better way to describe heroic. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So just a recurring resurrector. I'm going to guess this won't be too broken in anything because you have to burn a spell every single time. I mean, even if you were to Mighty Leap him, he's not that great on his own. It's only 2/3 for 3. I mean, it's pretty weak for, white standards. And all you get back is converted mana cost 2 or less. So popper tends to get up higher because of the rarity restriction. You can't just put in power and be like, oh, turn 4 win. I'm not saying it's impossible. It very much is. But it's usually, especially more in the casual environment, a much slower format because it just takes longer to get anything going because you can't use anything but commons. In my experience, it just resorts to tribal. It's just everybody just playing tribal boost and doing the best they can. So anyway, this is nice. I mean, it's a really cool way to get your stuff back, but I think it's less good in popper than it even was in standard because of the mana cost 2 limit. But It's still really cool. I mean, bringing back something over and over and over from the graveyard is cool. It's just, it's a lot cooler when it's like reassembling skeleton. You don't have to do some combo or burn a card to do it. So I don't think this will be like the hottest go-to card in Pauper, but it's nice, you know? Next up, Slum Reaper. It's a 4/2 for 4. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. Honestly, not a great card. I mean, if you're running zombies, you could put this in as like a really good kill with a 4/4 ratio. The very important ratio that people don't consider is how much damage can it do compared to its converted mana cost. If it's equal, it's usually pretty good, especially on the higher end. If it's above it, wow. And if it's below it or way below it, you better be getting some other value out of it, because it's what I always tell people. At a certain point, you have to actually win the game. All the synergy and draw and control and all this other nonsense is great, but you have to hit them from 20 to 0 at some point, in general. I mean, there's alternate win conditions, I get it, whatever. So 4/4 with an almost free kill spell attached, pretty damn good. I could see a lot of people playing this, but it's a horror. I mean, who's playing horror tribal? So it would just have to be almost like a standalone thing. Maybe you get a death trigger off it if that's your thing. Just depends what you want to build. But I think, once again, it'll be on people's radar, but it won't be like, oh, everybody's got to buy it. Now it's a $4 Pauper card. Next up, we got something pretty nuts, though. This one's insane. So we got Miming Slime. It costs 3, it's a sorcery, and you create an XX green ooze creature, a token, by the way, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control at the moment. So if you boosted it with, I don't know, Titanic Growth, I don't even remember if that's a common, then you cast this, you get to consider the +4/+4. So you could create something huge. I mean, this is doubling down, but you won't get the tribal boost unless you're playing all oozes, then I guess you would. But, you know, you can get a creature on the battlefield without actually casting a creature spell. Sometimes that's a thing. I mean, you want to get past like an Essence Scatter or something similar, this is a good way to do it. Kind of situational. It's almost 50% more likely to get countered than less likely. It just depends what they're playing. But it's at least interesting. But basically, it's just, if you finally got out your big 7/7 into Pauper game and you think you're going to dominate the game with it, make another blank 7/7. I mean, it won't have like flying, lifelink, first strike, anything else that the other one might have, but it's still your biggest creature ×2. I mean, you really can't underestimate that. The best thing is it's in green, where it would be the most relevant. So you could almost play like a mono green, let's just ramp into some giant crap, because giant common rarity cards are pretty common, pun intended. At least when it comes to green, I should say. Especially like beast subtype creatures. Those are pretty beastly. I didn't plan any of these puns, but they just keep coming. So in the right deck, I think this would be huge. I'm not sure it'll really even sneak into tribal, because if something says for every, I don't know, vampire that dies, vampire in play, vampire this, that, and the other thing. Okay, cool, you made a copy of the biggest one. You're probably swarming if it's, you know, a subtype-based tribal deck anyway. But this is still a green ooze, so you don't really get anything out of it. So, that's a big archetype in Pauper from what I hear, is just go tribal, you know, all spirits or whatever. I mean, pick one. There's a lot to choose from. So it's narrow, but like I said, keep it on your radar. Next up, Dimir Guildmage. This is a pretty big one too. The hybrid mana is wonderful because your amount of color fixing in Pauper is just horrific. Like 90% of the color fixing in the game that's any good is in the rare slot. So, you know, good luck with that. But it's a 2/2 for 2, which is already okay. It's a human wizard. Wizard tribal is a thing. It'll probably be, you know, blue-red at this point with the Dominaria cards. I don't know. Kind of depends historically. But regardless of the subtype, I mean, assuming you're playing both colors or you only want one of these two abilities, I could see that. For 4 with a blue, target player draws a card. That's pretty much going to be you. Sorcery speed only, but that's fine. And then a discard effect that costs 4 with a black. So target player discards a card. Now, you wouldn't target yourself for madness, because why pay 4 to do that? That's stupid. Just cast the damn spell. But boy, I mean, in Pauper, people tend to kind of hold on to some cards until they're ready, or their colors are right, or they've ramped into it, or whatever. So just nuking a card every single turn. Ooh, boy. Especially starting on turn, well, 4, I guess? That'd be rough, and the whole time this guy could be swinging for 2. Otherwise, you could just outdraw your opponent 2-1 by spending the majority of your mana. So he's just good. I think he's like a color-based drop-in, where if you're running one or both of these colors, you'd be like, yeah, let's just put him in. I mean, even if it has nothing to do with the deck, it's pretty good on its own. But I saved the best for last, and I do mean best. Like, tactically, power-wise, it's probably the highest value, too. I think it's like $3. I don't know, too lazy to check. We have got Foil, one of the classic counterspells. So it costs 4 normally, and you can target any spell. Doesn't matter what type. So very overcosted cancel. But I mean, if you had it, use it, no problem. But you have a second option. You may discard an island card, which in Pauper you're going to have a lot of, and another card at all, doesn't even have to be a blue one, rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So just ditch an island, ditch something else, you've got a counterspell. So if you've got a useless card and a useless island, because you've already drawn 7 lands, you don't need an 8th one at all. Keep them both in your hand, and you've got a free counterspell at any time that can counter anything, even if your mana is fully tapped out. I mean, that's just amazing. This card is crazy good. It's kind of like a miniature Pact of Negation, but a little bit more situational and front setup instead of panicking later or trying to immediately win the game. So this one I expect to go in just about every blue Pauper deck ever. I mean, it's just so good. I mean, name the top 5 counterspells in the game, pretty much none of them are common. Oh my gosh, I just checked. Dissolve was actually downshifted to common in Iconic Masters, even though it was uncommon in Theros. Dissipate is still a 4-time uncommon, though. Disallow, I mean, that's a rare. Oh wow, Syncopate was moved to common in Dominaria too. And Odyssey. Okay, apparently some of the classics are in there, but add one to the pile. Oh my god, the spell Counterspell was changed to common. Okay. Anyway, this is another good one. Apparently there's more than I thought now that I look. So anyway, do you play Pauper? Are any of these going to go in your deck? If they are, leave a comment down below saying, hey guys, put this in this deck just in case you didn't think of it. And, you know, help people out. Comment section should be pretty interesting on this one. Or if you really don't give a crap about Pauper, leave a thumbs up anyway and then go comment about it on Tolarian's channel because he cares a lot more about the format than I do. Complaining about Pauper or saying how dumb it is and how you don't play it will do absolutely nothing on my channel because I basically agree. I mean, I like that it's cheap, but then again, some Pauper staples are not. Whatever, low power, screwy, dumb, weird magic is kind of my thing. It's just I don't get that far into it. But maybe you do, and maybe you love all 5 of these cards, so let me know, and I will see you guys next video.